Here we are, chapter 37. Jack, John, and I arrived at the ballpark early. Red was in his office, cleaning out his desk. Gus was in helping him out. 2 large cardboard boxes were on top of the desk, and 1 30-gallon trash can was to the left. The boxes were mostly empty. Red decided to consolidate and take only 1 to New York. "Boys, come on in for a moment," yelled Red. The players entered Red's office. "Yeah, Skip, what's up?" said John. "Hey, Gus," he added with a warm tap on the shoulder. "Well, the boss sent a small commuter jet to pick us up in New Haven," announced Red. "He's sitting out at Mackey Airport. Decided he wants us at the press conference for 10 a.m. He's sending up 4 drivers to take our cars down to New York. He has even taken care of getting each of us an apartment uptown, so we don't have to worry about setting up housekeeping. A driver is waiting for us outside. We've got about 5 or 10 minutes. Any problems?" "No, guess not," I said. "You want our car keys now? I left my personal stuff in my car. That's okay, right?" "Yeah, I don't see why not," said Red. "Why don't you do that?" Everyone dropped their car keys on Red's desk. Gus picked them up and told them he would take care of it. We players went into the locker room and picked our equipment and headed out for the limo waiting for us. I stopped and came back into Red's office. "Red, could I have a minute with Gus?" I asked. "No problem," said Red. "I'm done in here anyway." He turned and took the box with his saved belongings and left. Gus was fumbling with what was left on the desk, and what was left was garbage. Gus was nervous. "Gus," I said, "I just wanted to say thanks to you and Mary for everything. You and Mary have been great to me. You opened up your home to some stranger. You cared for me like I was your own, well, one of your family. You and Mary will always be special to me, Gus. I just wanted to say I love you and Mary, and I will miss you." I walked over and gave Gus a big hug. Gus turned and embraced me hard. The tears were streaming down Gus's face. "Hey, listen, kid, get out of here," said Gus, not really meaning it. He tapped me on the cheek. I walked toward the door, and I turned to look at Gus once more. "Hey, Mr. Monarch," said Gus to me, smiling. "You're now Mr. Yankee, and don't be a stranger." "Don't worry," I replied, smiling. I won't take that. Take care, Dad." I left and boarded the limo with my teammates. The new adventure was about to begin. We arrived in New York just after 9 a.m., where the limo whisked us off to the house that Ruth built. George Canasta was waiting for them at the gate to usher us upstairs to the press area. It was flooded with reporters and cameras. We assembled in an outer office adjacent to the press area. As soon as we entered, we were spotted by the boss, and he greeted us warmly. "Red, introduce me, will you?" asked George. "George, this is Bill Allen, Jack Myers, and John Tavy," said Red. He shook each of our hands after we were announced. "Boys, it's really nice to have you here," he said. "I know I seem to do some wacky things once in a while. Some even think I own the Bellevue Yankees, but believe me, I love this team, and I love this city, and I want this town to have another championship more than anything." He went on to describe how the press conference was set up. He was going to make the announcement of the changes and introduce Red as the new manager. Nothing was in any of the morning papers, so this was going to be quite a shock. Red would then introduce the new players from the Monarchs, and then we would all have to field a few questions, just as a matter of protocol. "Are you gentlemen ready?" asked the boss. We all shook our heads. "Well, then it's showtime." He led the way into the media room. The camera flashes immediately began to go off. He went up to the podium, which seemed to have 100 microphones, glued or scotch-taped all over the place. "Ladies and gentlemen of the press," he began. "I called this press conference today to announce some immediate changes to the New York Yankees. After consulting with Dan Mann, our general manager, we both agreed this team was not responding and failing to live up to its potential. Bucky Dent has agreed and will be immediately taking over managing the Meriden Monarchs Connecticut Ball Club. Mr. Red Dodge, standing to my left, will immediately take field control of the Yankees. In addition, Red has brought along with him 3 most talented prospects who will take over starting assignments immediately. To my far right is first baseman John Tavy. Next to him is pitcher Jack Myers, and to his right is pitcher third baseman Bill Allen. Mr. Allen will be starting this afternoon's contest. The announcement of those current Yankees who will be released will be announced prior to the game time. They have not been told yet as of this moment, but the decision has been made and who they are. We will be glad to answer any questions you may have," concluded the boss. "George, isn't this just some stunt to deflect attention away from the Yankees' poor performance? And aren't you making scapegoats out of the 3 players you're about to release?" said a voice in the back of the room. It was Jack Milton of the Times. "No, Jack," he said sarcastically, "this is not just for your benefit, to give you something more to write about. The team stinks right now, but we're only 11 games out. If the Orioles fade at all, we could start playing like we're capable of. We could end up, at the very least, respectable. The fact that we have brought up 2 fine pitchers, and I believe our main weakness, should indicate that we are at least understanding of our problems and our needs. Next question." Mr. Dodge asked a reporter from the Post, "Do you have any immediately plans to shake up the lineup today?" Red moved to the podium. He removed his Yankee hat. "My immediate lineup will include Tavy at first base, and he will hit cleanup, with Allen pitching and batting 9th today. When Bill is not pitching, he will play third and back third," announced Red. "You're kidding, right?" responded the reporter. "Son, you might as well learn right now. I don't kid much about anything," snapped Red, with an intense look on his face. "Mr. Allen has an 11-1 record and is batting .360 with 19 homers and 68 RBIs. Mr. Tavy has 26 and is tied for the league lead in RBIs with 81. Mr. Myers, not to be forgotten, is 8-2, and I believe after looking at 10 hours of Yankee game tape, these players are as good as anybody currently in the stadium. Now, some of the players here might not like me saying that, but it's up to them to show me otherwise. These 3 new players will have to play themselves out of the lineup, just like some current Yankees have already done. All George and I ask is that you give them a chance before you begin crucifying them." Red stepped back from the stage. The media was kind of taken aback by Red's matter-of-factness. It was obvious that there would be a different presence in the Yankee dugout from now on. "Mr. Allen," asked a woman reporter from WFAN radio, "how do you feel about pitching your first game at Stadium?" I moved up to the podium. I kept my cap on. "It was to be my regular turn for the Monarchs anyway," I said calmly. "It would just be nice to know the hitters better, obviously. But it's really not a big deal. The secret of my pitching is not to make mistakes and get behind the count. I'll take my cues from Mike Stanley, our catcher, and work on keeping my composure and control. It's my job to put my best pitch where he wants it. If I do that, my success will continue. Dave Bolton, our catcher at the Monarchs, was doing a great job of preparing both me and Jack. We still had to do our job with good pitches, but it will be no different here. Mr. Myers asked the same reporter, "Is that how you feel?" "Well, there's not much I can add to that," said Jack as he moved onto the podium. "Neither of us is 100 miles per hour or overpowering, but Billy is certainly very close, and I can touch 95 or 96 when I want. He's going to be surprising many hitters up here. We pitch to spots. We generally stay out of the middle of the plate. There is pitching and throwing, and if you are a thrower, you can only rely on luck and a hitter's weakness. You really don't need to have much control over the team's destiny if you do that." Jeb stepped back from his original spot. He winked at Red, who smiled back. A couple more softball-type questions were lobbed up and were easily handled. The press did their best to find out who was going to be released by the Yankees. A lot of speculation centered around Biff Johnson, the current first sacker, and a couple of pitchers with losing records and big salaries. George would not budge with any hints and told them to be around prior to game time.